What are the first 90 days of your 2025 going to look like? This is the question that I asked myself this morning. And I was looking at my book of business and I was thinking, okay, great. Where are the holes in my bucket? What are the things that I'm missing right now? And what did I struggle with last quarter? And I think that as a customer success manager, it's really important to reflect on the actions that you've taken, the outcomes that you've produced, and then have a look at how you can either plug holes in your bucket and improve on those skills, so deal with some problems, or add new skills to your tool belt, so handle some new opportunities for growth. And in myself, I think I'm at problem mode at the moment, and my last quarter wasn't the best in the world. I identified a few pieces that could be done better, and after breaking everything down into the specific actions that I needed to take, I'm going to share what those things are. And so my two key outcomes that I'm looking at being able to achieve in the first 90 days of 2025 are improving the skills of getting my customers renewal ready and accelerating their business growth. And so those two things together are kind of the primary parts of my job. And the way that I would break that down again, to be renewal ready, I need to make sure that I have the right numbers, both adoption as well as business KPIs. I need to have the right people in the room, and that's my solution team, as well as the above the line or executive level decision makers. And I also need to have the right story. And that's the complicated part, is combining the above two, and you need to speak and produce the right numbers to the right person. Typically, that's done through a business review style conversation for the executive team. And the other part to there is that I need to improve on my ability to boost value perception. A lot of the time I get stuck into the numbers, and as a CSM I'm analyzing and looking at numbers all the time, and so sometimes I put the wrong numbers in front of the wrong person. I might be talking adoption to a senior person who really is interested in ROI, return on investment, and other times I might be talking about broad overarching initiatives that the company has in a different department to my solution team, who really cares about their adoption and what they're accomplishing as an individual. So there are two key portions behind this. The first portion is that I'm not going to be able to accelerate my customers' business growth if I can't get them to be renewal ready first. And so I thought I'd think about it like not just a farmer, but a strawberry farmer. The way strawberries grow is that they'll have a hub, and as they get more energy, they're putting it towards the fruit, but they're also sending out a thing called a runner, where it goes underneath the ground and it pops up somewhere else. And as a CSM, we're kind of doing two different parts, right? We're watering the ground for the existing relationships. We would call that a use case, the existing use case that the software or the product has within the customer's organization. And then we're also trying to send those runners out and establish new hubs in different parts of the business, maybe for a different use case or a different need that they have, or we're looking to strengthen the relationship. Now, there are a lot of domain-specific words that are applied to these actions, like threading and cross-selling and upselling and adoption and solution health and solution team, and they'll differ per company. But at its core, what you have is a problem, and your product is solving for that problem. And then there's a person on the other side who is using your product to be able to solve the problem, and it will reflect positively on them when they're able to achieve that. And then we want to be able to take those achievements and broadcast them to the decision makers who originally chose to purchase the product. And so all of that to say, how am I actually going to get better? And so here, I'm going to use a framework that is around, it's a skill-based framework. And what I'm going to be looking at is working backwards from the outcomes that I would like. And so in this case, we're going to take renewal readiness as the first outcome. And then if I break that down to be renewal ready, I first need to make sure that my customers are green. So they have strong adoption, or at least a perception of strong adoption. They have a positive sentiment for the people that are in the position of power. And I have a solution owner and a solution team, if there are multiple people contributing who are a champion. And so I would qualify a champion as someone who's willing to refer me internally within the organization. And so how do I actually do that? So the framework is pretty simple. It's that an outcome equals action multiplied by skill. This is based off Alex Hormozy's volume times leverage equals outcome or productivity, and just adjusted the words a little bit because they worked in my brain. But really what we're looking at is action times skill equals outcome. And so then I have to go, what actions am I going to be taking in order to achieve the outcome? And so here I go, okay, great. So adoption is one of the right numbers that I need to get. So in order to get to green on adoption, if they're red or they're yellow, I use that traffic light system personally, then I have to institute a series of actions, which is running some meetings, sending some emails, and often looking at some numbers, so analyzing some data, to be able to craft a compelling story to give to my customer with a call to action or action step of some sort to help them move forward. And this is personal to the product that you're working with. You may have existing resources at your company. I have a lot of existing resources and I'm very fortunate for that. And so I'll be using those resources and making sure I can identify what's the biggest win I can give my customer right now, and how can I help them move towards their personal goals through the method that I provide to them. If something is yellow or red, then it doesn't reflect well on them. And so sometimes you need to bring out a personal part of the conversation to be able to help motivate them to take the actions that they need to take they probably weren't taking beforehand, which is why you might be in the yellow or the red. And so then that's the action, right? We'll say, okay, crafting an email, that could be an action. And so then we go, okay, great, well, what's a skill? And so a skill, the way I'm defining it for myself for the next 90 days, is applied knowledge for that specific outcome. And so there are a series of variables that go into an email. As an example, a subject line is a great start to that. So every email will have a subject line. Is your subject line something that grabs their attention? Is it something that is specific to you and them? Is it personal? There are a whole heap of variables that go into a good subject line. And then there are a bunch of different things like a subject line. So the first line in your email or the hook, and then you might have the body of the email, you might have the way that it is structured, you might have the call to action, you might have the font. And there are lots of variables that go into a great email. And those variables are going to be better or worse based upon who you're speaking to and the practice that you've had with it. And so that's the skill portion. So you have action times skill equals outcome. And in this case, the skill portion, well, what is that? It's kind of like applied knowledge, right? And so you first need to have, and there's a 3-stage process that I have here for a skill. It's like, do I have awareness of that skill? Do I know that it exists? Am I applying the skill? And it's a binary measurement. I'm ticking the box. Am I applying the skill or am I not applying the skill? And then the third part is, have I adopted the skill? And so how deeply ingrained into my habits is that skill? And the goal is to increase my awareness about as many skills as I can, and then to apply all of the ones that I can, and then apply it through volume. And so that's taking action until I have adopted it myself. And then I've leveled up and I'll be able to produce a greater outcome from the same level of action. And so that's the core framework behind how my next 90 days is going to look. And the way that I actually apply that is going to be through preparation, which is looking at information, so making sure that I have that awareness. Application in the form of practice and in the form of actually doing the uncomfortable action. And then the final piece is going to be analysis, looking back after that 90 days and saying, okay, what was my top performing set of actions? What were my bottom performing set of actions? How can I refine and then apply them into my next 90 days? If you want to follow along, I'm CSM Summer on Instagram and YouTube. I would love for you to follow my journey. And I'm also posting stuff about those wanting to transition into customer success, just like I did, with a different set of professional skills. Until then, have a tremendous start to your 2025.